So, John Jones and DC are going at it again on Twitter. Is anyone surprised about this? Because I'm most definitely not surprised about this. I mean, these two guys don't like each other. They've never liked each other. They never will like each other. It doesn't matter how many times they fight. It doesn't matter how many times, they say that they're done with each other. There's never going to be a time where these two guys are cool with each other. And I feel like this round of beefing actually started after Habib Nurmagomedov retired, and he was crowned the greatest of all time, pound for pound king, whatever. And of course, John Jones at first was okay with it. He posted the little tweet talking about how he gives up the crown to Habib, and just a few moments later, he went back on his word and he spent the next few days ranting on Twitter talking about how he's the actual GOAT, how all that matters is title defenses. We're not going to get into all that. You guys already know my thoughts on that. But the whole entire point of this video, though, is I feel like in this round of beefing on Twitter, John Jones just essentially implied. I mean, he might as well have directly said it, but he just implied in a tweet that he will be retiring at 35 years old. Now, this is relevant because at this time, John Jones is 33, right? 35 is just around the corner. This is a man who just gave up his belt in the light heavyweight division, a man who's been talking about moving up to the heavyweight division for a very long time, a man who officially has not moved up to the heavyweight division, a man who at this time does not have a fight lined up in the heavyweight division. I mean, Stipe Miocic is most likely fighting Francis Ngannou next. And John, like I said, at the moment, does not have a fight lined up anywhere. Not in the heavyweight division, not in the light heavyweight division. Israel Adesanya is moving up to the light heavyweight division to face Jan Wachowicz for the light heavyweight crown. So if he's planning to retire at 35 years old, and he doesn't have anything lined up right now, he must know something that we don't. Because in his mind, he believes that by 35 years old, he would have accomplished every single thing that he needs to accomplish in the sport of mixed martial arts, enough for him to hang up the gloves. Now, why am I saying that John Jones implied he's going to retire? Well, first of all, let's take a look at some of these tweets, right? I'm going to start with this one. Right here, DC right here was responding to a tweet from John Jones where John Jones was essentially saying that, DC lost his last fight. And then after he lost his last fight, DC retired. And because of that, according to John, because DC lost his last fight and retired or ran away from the sport, according to John, DC is in no position to talk about who the greatest of all time is. Because, well, DC says, and he has said this for a very long time, that he has been very consistent when it comes to this. He said, if you fail a drug test, that automatically eliminates you from the greatest of all time conversation. And you know what, man? If that is your criteria, if you don't value anyone who has ever failed a drug test, that's perfectly fine. So that's DC's opinion. And so John responds, of course, to DC, telling him, you lost your last fight, and then you quit the sport. You are in no position to talk about who the greatest of all time is. DC responds with, dummy, after I lost to you, while you were on PEDs, mind you, I won back the 205 title, then won the heavyweight title, then back surgery, then Stipe beat me twice. Sure sounds like quitting, huh? I'm 41 years old. Let's see what you're doing at 41, you loser. I can't wait. Honestly, DC makes a very good point. And this is something that I completely agree with this. I mean, DC at the time was 41 years old when he lost to Stipe Miocic. Before that fight even happened, he was already talking about retiring, whether he won the fight or he lost the fight. That was going to be DC's last fight. So he did not leave the sport because he lost to Stipe. I believe that if DC would have won that fight, he would have still hung it up because he's just too old to be fighting right now. And you can see that from his performances. So saying that DC quit the sport, it's not fair to say that. So this response from DC got him straight up. Of course, John Jones, can't let it go. John responds, is that any way to talk to your superior, Daniel? By the time I'm 40, I'll be 5 years into my retirement. This is where I feel like he just implied he's going to retire at 35. That's what happens when you win the big ones. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the best high school coach who ever lived pulling for you, buddy. So this is where I got what he's trying to say. Like, he's going to retire at 35. And again, the question I have is, what does he know that we don't? Right? Does he have a fight lined up at this time? And also, knowing John Jones, you can't really take anything he says seriously, right? Because this is the same guy. This is the same John Jones that today everything's okay. Tomorrow, John Jones could be in jail for whatever reason. So I'll retire at 35, or implying I'll retire at 35 can't really be taken seriously when you're someone who historically makes a lot of mistakes that always directly takes you away from the sport. I mean, so many years wasted by John Jones, so many years wasted in trouble, whether it's being suspended for performance enhancing drugs, or, abandoning his belts in a weight class. I mean, there's always a reason for John Jones to not compete. And now he doesn't even have a fight lined up. And so I find that so interesting that he's confident that he'll be 5 years into his retirement by the time he is 40 years old. To be honest with you guys, man, I would love to see it. I would really love to see it. Do I think that's going to happen? No. No, I don't think it's going to happen. If I had to make a prediction, my prediction is that, he's going to get himself in trouble again somehow. Somehow he's going to get himself in trouble again. He's going to be away from the sport, and he's going to need another year to come back. But I'm hoping, as a fan of John, as someone who John Jones is his favorite fighter, I'm hoping that this is the time that the man actually does what he says he's going to do, right? It'll be nice to see John Jones get the winner of Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. Or hell, maybe just fight Stipe Miocic right away. Win the heavyweight title, maybe fight 4 times a year. If he's able to, because a lot of times, John has said that he wants to compete at least 4 times a year. So if John is able to win the heavyweight championship, and John is able to fight frequently, at least 3 times a year, he would have won the heavyweight title, defended it a few times in the heavyweight division. And I feel like if he's able to do that, win the heavyweight strap, defend it more times than Stipe has, more times than any heavyweight champion in the UFC ever has defended the title, I feel like even with all the performance enhancing stuff, especially if John goes the next few years of his career without failing any more drug tests, I feel like he can really make a claim for being the pound for pound best if he's able to do that, especially with all his other accomplishments. But we're yet to see that. And again, from what we know of John Jones, I'm not very optimistic. Anyways, the whole entire point of this video was I want to see what you guys think about that. Do you think this man can actually get on the right track, win the heavyweight strap, defend it a few times, accomplish what he wants to accomplish in the sport of mixed martial arts, and actually retire at 35 years old? Do you think John Jones can do that? Let me know in the comments.